to our Facebook viewers. As you can see, Dr. Banks is not here today, but we are still in the business of sharing the gospel of the kingdom. So we're going to ask you to join us for our kingdom declarations. As a king, I know my design.
As a king, I know my design.
As a king, I know I am durable.
As a king, I know I am durable.
And as a king, I am positioned to be a prototype.
As a king, I am positioned to be a prototype.
So as kings, we know our design. We know our design is durable, and we know our design is just a prototype for things to come.
Amen. Yes.
So you guys may be seated. So as Dr. Banks has been teaching that 2019 is going to be the year of illumination. That's our focus for 2019, is that it's the year of illumination, where it's going to be revelation. We are going to be releasing even more of our gifts in 2019. A lot of us have been in 2018 doing things, being movers and shakers, making things happen. So in 2019, you're going to have to dig deeper, because we know that there is more inside of each of us. And because we are going to be releasing our gifts are going to be revealing not our glory, but it will be revealing God's glory. So every time you do something to impact the kingdom, every time you share your gift, every time you walk in your purpose, it's a testament to what God has poured into you. And people are going to see the glory of God in everything that we do. So that's going to be our focus for 2019, the year of illumination, that we're going to be that light on a hill. We're not going to hide our gifts and talents under a basket any longer. We're not going to be concerned about who flips the light switch on. Because if you think about it in your house, even though the light might not be on in the room, the power is still there for whoever needs to turn it on. Yeah. So don't worry about who's flipping your switch. The power is still there for those who have the audacity to say, I need Precious's light. I need Kathy's light. Let me flip that switch. So you guys need to be prepared in 2019 to make your flip switch accessible, because the power is there, and you don't be worried, don't be concerned about who accepts it. You just be there ready, that when they push that button, lady, Precious, I need to learn how to make a dress. I got 10 sewing machines. What you need?
That's right.
That's right. So for those who are on Facebook, if you want some sewing classes, we have someone in our ministry, Lady Mary Smith. She can teach you how to sew, and she's really good too.
That's right.
Flip her switch, okay? Flip her switch. That's gonna be our thing. Flip my switch. I'm ready to be illuminated. Flip my switch. So we're just gonna recap a little bit about last week. Dr. Banks talked about prototype, and he said a prototype is a model, a product built to act as a thing to be duplicated or learned from. And we are prototypes. So we are a model. We are a product, God's product. And we were built to act as a thing to be duplicated or learned from. So you need to understand, as a prototype, whether you mean to or not, people are learning from what you are. Yes. From how you act, from how you talk, from how you walk. They're learning from everything that you do. Yes. And especially when we think about our children, they are going to duplicate. And that's the first thing, that prototypes in our homes. You are a prototype for how your kids are going to initially think and behave and act. Now, of course, they get older and do their own things sometimes, but initially, your job is to make sure that you are a prototype of what God would have them to be. You can't control what they do, but you have to be good with yourself, saying, I was a good prototype. And so let's talk about a prototype. There were 4 dimensions to a prototype. The first one was design. And a design is an ideal that solves a problem. So for those of you who have your blank papers ready, I want you to get that blank paper, and I want you to just draw an outline of a shape of a person, maybe similar to that little shape there. You don't have to be an artist, but you are going to just draw a design that represents a person. And that person on the paper is going to be you. You are going to make a visual representation of yourself as a prototype. And we're going to review and recap what Dr. Baines taught last week about what a prototype is. And you are going to make sure, or you are going to get a visual representation of you as a prototype. And those 4 dimensions of a prototype. So make sure the person is big enough so that you can put everything inside of it. So you are building it. Essentially, we are building a prototype. If someone wants to be brave, and I don't know if we have any markers over there on the whiteboard there. If someone wants to be brave enough and put their prototype on the whiteboard as we're doing it, that's fine too. But you are going to be designing yourself as a prototype using the information that we received last week. Does everyone have their empty bodies on the papers? Are we ready? So the design, an ideal that solves a problem. So inside of your prototype, that there is an ideal inside of you that's set and ready to solve a problem. I want you guys to really think about the things that are inside of you and all the ideals and the solutions that you have. And on the inside of that prototype, write down some ideals that you have that you can begin to set in motion for 2019. You might have an ideal for ministry. You might have an ideal for a book. You might have an ideal for a product, a trip, or something. It doesn't have to be, anything complicated. But we have so many ideals rolling around in our head, things that, I could do this. Or you might say, I wish somebody would come up with an ideal for this. That might be you. You may not talk about these things all the time, but I want you to write them down. I want you to write them down because it helps us to write things down. Last year we learned about those 4 parts of the brain, and we had, our occipital and our frontal lobe that deals with our vision. I think that might be the occipital that deals with the vision, and then we had our temporal that dealt with how we feel and touch things, and then we had our temporal dealt with auditory type things, and the parietal dealt with how we are feeling and touch. And so, part of seeing things written down, that activates a portion of your brain. And so let's go ahead and activate that portion of your brain. So you guys have filled your person with your ideal that solves a problem. That's part of your design. We are designed to be problem solvers. That's part of being a prototype. That's in you. That's embedded in your DNA. As a king, as a kingdom ambassador, as a representative of God's glory, we are designed to solve a problem. We are a prototype for being a problem solver. So does everybody have their ideas inside their prototype? The next thing is functionality. How is your prototype going to function? The 4 things we learned about functionality is that there is a performance level to it. Let me get down here. That is going to perform the way it was designed. Now, before you can say, I am performing the way that I was designed, you have to do what? You have to know what your original design is. And then we talk about that all the time, that you have to know how God designed you. He designed you to be a king. He designed you with power. He designed you with peace. He designed you with mercy. He designed you with grace. Everything that God has in His Word for you, you need to look at your life and say, am I operating in the way that I was designed? Am I walking in power? Am I walking in peace? Am I walking in the things that God has designed me to walk in? And be honest with yourself. First of all, compliment yourself for the things that you're getting right. We are so hard on ourselves sometimes that we can pick out everything that we're doing wrong. And we should do some introspection in that and look at things that need to be changed. But sometimes give yourself a pat on the back and say, you know what? I'm doing this as God has designed me to do. Proficient. Function in the best possible manner with the least waste of time and effort. We should really live our lives to be proficient. We should really, the word of redeeming the time as the time draws near. And so we need to begin to look at the things that we're doing in our lives. How are we operating? Are we really making the best use of our time? It could be something as simple as, I remember my daughter Tasha was talking about Harmony. She had to fold her clothes, but she liked watching good times. Okay, fold your clothes while you're watching your show. A lot of times we don't make good use of our time. There are a lot of times that we have things to do where we want to watch this particular show. Okay, what can be done while you're doing something else? Can you multitask? That's as simple, sometimes not so spiritual and deep. Ooh, proficiency. Proficiency is, are you making the best use of your time? Are you getting things done? And it's not so much about how much you are doing, because how much you are doing can equate into just being busy, but how much are you getting accomplished? That's a big difference between, oh, I'm doing a lot to I'm accomplishing a great deal. And so don't be confused and don't be comforted by movement. Don't be like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I'm 24 hours a day, I'm moving. And you look at your to-do list and you got 2 things checked off. That's not being proficient. And so you really need to look at how you decide to manage your time. Proficiency is just about time management. And if you are going to be a prototype of God's design, you need to be able to be proficient. And proficiency deals with also efficiency. So are you using your time effectively with the least amount of waste of time and effort? And anybody who knows me knows that I despise more effort, putting in more effort to do things than I have to. And I am going to always look for the most efficient ways to get things done. And so that's, I live by that. So are you being proficient in the things that you're doing? And I want you guys to take, once again, we're going to do some introspection here. Think about an average day. What is one area in your life that you could be more proficient? Is it your morning routine? Is it your evening routine? Is it maybe getting your clothes ready before the night before, getting the kids' clothes ready the night before? Is it making sure that you have your to-do list done the night before? Is it on Sunday to make sure you have your plan for the rest of the week? Think about one thing in your life that God, I have got to do better. Whether it's at home, whether it's at work, whether it's, in your health decisions. How can you get more things done? How can you get more effective things done? How can you get more things accomplished using the time that you have? And then the next part of functionality is possess the qualities to dominate. What exactly, this is going to be some discussion here, what does it look like for those of you who are operating in your field, in your purpose? What does it look like when you're dominating? I know there have been times we all think, I'm on it today. I'm on it today. And you felt that rush. Well, I know I have. When I know I have just been on it, doggone it. So I want you guys to share with me, what does it look like when you have dominated in what you were designed to do? Anybody want to share? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What was the one time you was just on it? Anybody? Mama D?
For instance, Friday, I had a student and we were going through the strategies for his reading. And so I knew he got the strategy because I saw the light go on. And that felt good to see that I had gotten to him and that he understood what I was doing and he can use that strategy to help himself.
Okay. So you dominated in the education field.
Yes.
How did that make you feel? What would you describe some emotions or how you felt when you saw that?
I felt good for him because when you see the light, because that's what you're working for, all your efforts is just to see them get just a little grain of something, just to get a little bit of that light. So I felt good for him. I felt good for our program because I felt like we're making strides.
Okay.
So
Cool. Tasha?
I know when I'm training and stuff, I try to find some. So when I was working at Conquest, the lady who owned it, to me, she's better than me because she's been doing it longer than me. She's a lot stronger. So if I can put together a workout and it hurts her, I know I've actually done something. And so I did a workout. And I don't really just make workouts to just. I really don't. I don't make workouts to hurt other people. But I did a workout and she said it was a really good one. And then she took that same workout, my workout, and used it on some kids who were training to go to the military, and it helped them get prepared. So to me, what I'm doing can trickle down, and it continues to work, and people are seeing results from something that I put together, and I know I'm dominating in that.
Okay. Cool.
man.
So you're dominating in the health field. All right. Lady Bernice back there.
I'm gonna talk for my husband. I think he is dominating when it comes to the family. The home field is because he started a conference call about 3 years ago to impact and empower his family in regards to finances and debt and real estate and just being up to par with what's going on with everybody. And we can honestly say, the measurement of that is that one of them have bought a house. They're out of debt. They bought a house. Another one is in the process of buying a house. Several of them have their emergency funds ready. So I think that's dominating in the home field. And one that I will speak for myself is that I wrote a curriculum for Virginia College. It kind of started off just talking to every new student that came in about money and finances, and now it is a part of the curriculum that every student that comes to Virginia College has to take.
Amen.
Cool. You dominated a couple of different fields there, so that's good. But once again, that's how Lady Bernice rolls. You flip her switch, she has power. So y'all look back there, flip her switch. She has things inside of her that powerful. Anybody else? Lady Sylvia. But once again, we're just talking about the ability to dominate in your design.
Earlier you said as parents, we are prototypes. So for me in the home field, this year taking hands off from homeschooling, but to see that everything that I have poured into Maya, she is just excelling at. And I don't, she's just watched and she's learned and now she's putting into practice. And same thing with the boys too, their work ethics, where their jobs. They're doing an excellent job and just keeping that standard and those principles that we have poured into them.
Anybody else?
Amen.
What about our youth back there? How about when you guys are dominating in your design? Anybody back there? We good? See, I feel like they want me to call them out, 'cause I know a couple of them back there. What thing from your mouth?
I'm dominating in the business field from starting and getting more products to start running business. I'm 10.
Good for you. Lindsay?
Okay, so yeah, I'm 12. And what field? Oh yeah, arts field. I had a competition yesterday, and I was in every category that but I was in some categories and I did very good. Yeah. Oh yeah, we won 4 trophies.
All right.
I had a big one that I wanted to snatch off, but I couldn't.
And so, anybody else? Okay.
My name is Ayana, and I'm 14. And I play basketball, and we won our game when was it, Friday?
All right.
Oh, now you're
I know.
your name.
Well, of course, I have to brag on my daughter. She is dominating in her field. My daughter is Michaela Sanders. I went to a housing conference yesterday on Saturday, and you know you're doing something when the mayor says, "Oh, hey, where's Michaela? How's she doing?" Before he even said hello to me, he says, "Oh, hey, where's Michaela?" So she's dominating in the relationship building, knowing who you need to know.
But you know, that's the funny thing about prototypes, is that sometimes when something is duplicated from who you are, sometimes the thing duplicated is better than the original design.
Well, Harleen was afraid to say that she's been dominating in school. She's on the honor roll.
And so once again, it's okay to say, you know what, hey, I dominated in this. It took you guys a little while to get started, because sometimes we're always taught, well, you know, you need to be humble and, you know, don't talk about yourself, don't toot your own horn. And so where is that in the Bible that tells us we can't congratulate ourselves? Well, you know, the Bible says don't think more highly of yourself than you are. It didn't say you should think highly of yourself. It just says more than you ought to. So it lets us know that there is some level that we ought to think highly of ourselves. We just need to know when we cross the line of being, boasting and bragging and attribute it to ourselves. But God never told us that we can't say, hey, the way God designed me, I'm walking in this. I'm revealing God's glories. It's okay to say I'm dominating in my design. I know there are times that I walk around and I used to feel as though, well, you know, when people say, oh, Lord, you did this good, I would always try to find some flaw in whatever it is they were congratulating me on. Oh, you know, I could have done this better. And I'm learning to stop doing that God created me to walk in a certain way. He created me to dominate in teaching and breaking ideas down and putting them out. And you know what? I dominate in that. I went to Nashville to watch someone. They were doing a keynote speech, and so we went, and me and LJ were at the person's table selling their books, and people were coming to the table. We were, interacting, and of course, for me, it's hard for me to listen in crowds, but I had my microphone on, and I was, engaging, and this girl came up, and she was a college student, And she had the audacity to look at me and say, you know, I just don't know my purpose. Dun, 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 dun. You know, and I was like, really? And so I began to walk her through, and I didn't have to have the paper where number one says this. No, I'm like, you know, hey, you know, what is it in society that urges you? And initially she was like, oh, and I was just kind of being jovial with her too, but still getting the questions out of her. And then it got to the point where she was like, okay, well, you know, maybe I need to think about this. And then she says, well, you know, I do sign language, I work with the deaf community. I was like, well, you know, hey, I'm deaf, and I have procreate. And she's like, really? And so we began to talk that way. But at that moment, I was dominating in walking her through her purpose discovery without her even knowing it. And so she ended up knowing that she is a best self coach, teaching other women how to be their best self so they can inspire others. And she was like, wow. And I felt good about that in this noisy environment that I was able to dominate in what I do, taking these nuggets and putting them in a way that people can understand them. I didn't have to use, you know, well, God did this. It was just, we talked earlier, being able to transform people by what's in you without having to preach it. And so she left, and within, 5 minutes, she came, I don't know my purpose to, oh my God, I'm a best self coach. And also, if you think about everything that we said, our dominating in our design benefits other people.
Yes.
Everything that we said, it was a benefit to other people. So you know you are dominating in your design as a prototype when what you do benefits and helps other people.
Yes.
Because they become your prototype and they become what you create by the things that you do.
Amen.
And that's how we become prototypes and dominate in our design. And it is what I'm doing, helping someone else. And in the midst of that, it just makes you feel good.
Amen.
And it's okay to feel good and congratulate yourself about what you do. Somebody asked me, you know, Lord, do you ever congratulate yourself or pat yourself on the back? And I was like, no, not really. And she said, well, you should. And it never occurred to me I should congratulate myself. Because I've always been taught, you need to be humble, you need to, downplay everything. And so I had to actually stand up and look in the mirror, and I had to pat myself on the back, and I'm still getting accustomed to that.
Yes.
But it's just a byproduct of domination.
Amen.
It is. If you're going to be a king and a leader, you have got to be comfortable with knowing that you were designed to dominate.
Yes.
So now the next part of being a prototype, we don't like this one so much, is the being tested. Any product that is created goes through a testing process. If you think about it, I forget, the crash test dummies. When they're designing vehicles, they have to be, the design has to be tested. And none of us like the process of being a crash test dummy because sometimes it's painful. But it's during that testing when we figure out where our holes are. It's during that testing where we figure out, okay, this is a weak part of this design. Sometimes our weak part may be our temper. Sometimes our weak part may be our mouths. Sometimes our weak part may be in our consistency or our commitment. I can tell you, oh, Lord dominates, blah, 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 but I'm telling you, I suck at taking care of myself and my health. I suck at being committed to a healthcare regimen. I start off great, I'm at the gym, woo, and then something happens and I don't go, and then I don't go, and then I don't go. My money goes to Planet Fitness, I sit at home. And so I know that when it comes to testing me in that area, I need to do better. And so while it's perfectly okay to congratulate yourself when you dominate, sometimes you have to call yourself to the carpet when you go through that testing and you realize, you know what? I need to be more durable in this area. I need to be more durable with maybe my emotions and how I handle things, how I handle anger, how I handle grief, how I handle different emotions, how I talk to my children, how I talk to my spouse, how I talk to my coworkers. I need to be more dependable in doing things. And I need to have these defects corrected. So in your prototype model, just as I asked you to list the areas where you dominate, I need you to list your weak spots. Be honest with yourself and say, God, I know you designed me to dominate, and I'm doing good in this, but during these moments of testing, when my children are getting on my nerves, when my husband or my spouse has said something crazy, when my coworkers are acting a fool, when my money is funny, when things are coming at me, sometimes I don't do so well. Sometimes I'm not so durable, and I go off on people. Sometimes I'm not so dependable, and I don't do what I said I was going to do. And you need to list those areas in your prototype or your paper, and you need to commit to working on those defects, asking God to help you work on those areas. If you're not, if your area of testing is your finances, you can't seem to get it to stick to or even create a money management plan, not so much why are you looking at me? I don't know nothing about your finances. You just busted yourself out. I learned from Lady Bernice, don't use the word budget because people get touchy about budget, but you need a money management plan. You need a map. And if you know that you have that you don't do well on that might be your area that needs to be corrected. And there are people, places, and things that will help you. If your part of your defect is your temper, your emotions, your health, whatever it is, be honest about the defect in your prototype, because you are going to replicate that in anybody you pour yourself into. So be honest about yourself in your prototype on your paper. What are some defects that need to be corrected? Think about the times that you have been tested in those things, and how did you respond? And how are you going to fix it? If there is a defect, defects can be fixed. They should be fixed before the prototype goes to market. That's why you get so many of these recalls in these vehicles, because somebody didn't fully test those prototypes. And what happens when cars go into recall is that it puts the end user in danger. If you don't correct your defects, the people who you're pouring into are at risk of being defected too. And you don't want that. You want whatever you put to market, your design, when it goes to market, you want to make sure that you run it through the test. So don't run from the testing. You should welcome being tested, because you know when something is tested, it's going to work correctly. We watch a lot of these medical shows, and this guy was doing some kind of heart transplant type thing, and they had put on a new aorta or something, and they stitched it. And so the guy told the nurse or whoever to open up the valve to let the blood flow back through. And then he said do something with some pressure. And she was doing it real soft. And he was like, no. You need to really blow this thing out, because it needs to be able to stand the pressure of real life. Yeah. And so you can't go around coddling yourself, running from being tested. Sometimes you have to say, God, open me up full steam and put some pressure on me so I can see where I'm leaking. And sometimes the things that we are going through in life is just a testing process to see where you are leaking. And so don't run from the testing. Don't run from the testing. And then we have the duplication, that when you are ready as a prototype to say, okay, God, I am now ready to go to market, those elements are produce a strategy. What are you gonna come up with in your prototype, man, on your paper? Think about the things that you have inside of you. You can produce a strategy, a product. What product are you hiding inside of you? What program are you hiding inside of you? And then this last thing we talked about that I had to be honest with last week is the protege. If you're going to be a prototype, it needs to end in the duplication of something. If you are not duplicating, you are not truly a prototype. Because a prototype is a model. And so on your prototype, man, the things that you have inside of you, can you guys think of one person in your life that could be your protege? Or if not, what would the perfect protege look like? Because if you don't even know what your protege looks like, if they came across you, you would miss them. Because you don't even have an idea of what you would want to see in a person that you're willing to pour yourself into. That's what I had to work on. I really didn't have an idea of the kind of person I was looking for. And so I may have had prototypes come across my path, but because I didn't have a plan, I missed them. And so now I need to go back in my little prototype, man, and say, okay, what am I looking for in a protege to pour myself into? So in your prototype, man, on your paper, if anybody would like to share, is there an ideal, a product, a strategy that you are going to work on in 2019 for your prototype? Tasha.
Okay, so I've already written this down, anyway, but I am going to be working on probably another fitness expo, but after yesterday, I'm definitely going to be doing a kids fitness camp, something boot camp. It is overly necessary. So that is what I will be doing. My proteges are already back there. So they're already set up. So I just have to write it down. We'll be getting that done next year. Get ready.
And one thing that I can tell you, based on an experience, yesterday, and because Tasha is my daughter, is that she has a passion or even a grief for children who are not fit. And so year after year, I can see her getting frustrated when she sees, unfit children, obese children. And here's the thing about being a prototype, that until you actually do what you're designed to do and begin to pour yourself out and create what you are going to create, you are always going to be uncomfortable when you see that thing that you have the problem for. It makes you uncomfortable. And that's part of the testing. That you can't run from your design. You can't run from the ideals that are inside of you. You can't run from it just because it might take more effort. But until you pour out what you're supposed to pour out, you are going to be uncomfortable. We can't pray it away. We can't faith it away. We can't wish it away. And so I pray that God makes you more and more uncomfortable every day until you push out what's inside of you. You think about a woman who was overdue. She's been pregnant 9, 10, 12 months. That's not going to happen. But it becomes, the further along you get into your pregnancy, the more uncomfortable it becomes. You can't rest. You're twisted and turning. And the person with you, if they're in the bed with you, they can't rest either because you twisted and turning. Sometimes you have to sleep in separate beds because you haven't pushed out what you're supposed to push out yet. And so in the natural, when you're pregnant, in the spirit, when you're pregnant with something, you are going to be uncomfortable. You are going to be irritable. And you are going to make the people around you irritable also. So just push it out. We talked about this, all this year. Push it out. That's part of being a prototype. Prototypes push things out. They replicate, they duplicate. So in your prototype, man, that you have on your paper, You put your idea that's been in you. You talked about what qualities you possess that you dominate in and how that makes you feel when you dominate it. It's okay to say, I dominate in this as a prototype. It's perfectly okay. You're not gonna run from being tested because the testing defines and it discovers your weak spots, what you need to work on.
That's right. And
And when you're ready to be duplicated, when you're ready to say, I'm ready to get this thing out, produce a strategy, a program, a product, but then always look for someone else to pour into so you can move on to something else. So do we have any more questions, comments about being a prototype? Does anyone want to share their prototype man with us, and what you have inside? If it's too private, you don't have to. But if you would like to share your prototype man with us, let us hear and see, let us hear what it looks like, so we can see what you're supposed to do.